Hello. I haven't I haven't set up my Streamlab in a very long time. Like the last time I had Streamlabs OBS installed was more than half a year ago. I think if you guys tuned in and saw me streaming OMSI 2, which is that bus simulator. I have no idea what OMSI stands for. That was the last time I had Streamlabs installed. So all the settings are completely like screwed up. I had to set everything up from scratch. I'm clearly using a different camera, different audio interface, different mic, different everything. So I don't know if you can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me. Um, anyway, I'm not expecting too many people to tune in because like it's not really a game stream, so it's not really discoverable. I'm mostly just using Streamlabs to record this because like it seemed like a good tool to use to record a vlog anyway, since I'm not kind of sitting in front of my camera recording. And like if anyone pops into chat, then your messages will actually appear here, so that'd be nice. Mm, yeah. So I might hang out for a couple of minutes to wait for you know anyone at all to join. And if no one joins, I'll just treat it as a vlog and talk to my camera. And like I think there are certain times of the week or certain times of the day where like you have the most participation as a streamer, but I have no idea as somebody who's just set up Streamlabs. So I did hear that this camera's autofocus is very very janky. So maybe maybe you're going to actually watch more of like my TV and clothes than myself. But yeah. Hey, if you have anything to say, I sent this link to you on like Telegram and shit. But put it in the Twitch chat because it appears. So like participation plus it goes into the vlog. But yeah, so I have already forgotten what the title of this chat of this stream is. It's Tech Winter slash Midlife Crisis chat. So yeah, maybe I'll just start talking about. I'll just start treating this as a vlog. And if you have anything to say, put it in the chat. I'll see it. I'll react to it. Um. So yeah, I think this is like me finally not procrastinating anymore and starting to become comfortable, or at least starting to try to be comfortable, just speaking to a camera. Like I know on stream it looks like I'm talking to you, but I'm really just looking at a circular hole in front of me. And I think that's gonna be basically the life of vlogging. So yeah, finally kind of like dusted off the AC power connector for my camera, and you know just plugged it into my computer and reinstalled Streamlabs, and the themes got a bit better, so I really didn't have to do much setup. Like I think 15 minutes and this was set up, so yay. Um, so the reason I think I wanted to start vlogging, so I think I would consider this vlog number one. Like I've got a bunch of like videos of my projects on YouTube, but none of them have any spoken word in it. So like this would be a face reveal, I guess. But then again, I was never hiding it, so maybe it's not a face reveal. Um, So yeah, I think the reason I wanted to start vlogging is just it's kind of maybe it's a midlife crisis. Like I turned 30 like a year or two ago. You see, I completely stopped tracking it after that. But basically, I feel like I've reached a point in my life where like I've done a lot of firsts in the past like decade plus. I don't know if like anything before I turned 20 would count as a first because like duh, you're a kid, so everything's the first time. But yeah, like I turned 30 a while not too long ago, and basically I've been working in tech for 10 years, and like this will be an interesting year, I think, because I decided I don't really want to do tech anymore, and I don't think I really decided it, but it's more like I applied for a couple of jobs, and basically the lack of response, or the fumbling of it, which I'll talk about later, but that basically kind of decided for me that maybe it's not the right time to go back to tech, which is why you can see that the title of the stream is Tech Winter. um oh yay, bots. But yeah, basically kind of circumstances have decided that I've spent 10 years working in tech, and now I'm not going to be working in tech anymore. And I will kind of preface that by saying that there's some level of privilege there where I'm actually turning down some work that you could consider as tech, but it's not tech that like I wouldn't say it doesn't count as tech, but it's kind of like keeping the lights on kind of work, which I don't really enjoy. And I think, yeah, like I said, like it's coming from kind of a privileged place where I can choose the kind of work I want to do in tech, which I mean, when I started out, I didn't really know the term for it. Like, it's basically working in IT, doing computer stuff. But I think that my past 10 years have kind of helped me to find the word I'm looking for the kind of work I want to do in tech, which is what we call builders. Like I would consider myself a builder. So like when I reflect on kind of the work I've been doing for the past 10 years, it's mostly building things. So like I did my first couple of years, like first 3 years at an ISP, internet service provider called ViewQuest. If you guys are in Singapore and you guys are tuning in, then you probably already know what ViewQuest is. It was just a small ISP, and like I said, I don't like doing work that keeps the lights on. So, like kind of from the day I joined, got my fingers into like deploying things, launching things, experimenting with things. So yeah, it's basically like builder work now, I realize. Um, and after that, like 3 years at ViewQuest, I went like all the way from the tiniest company to like the biggest company there is, which is Amazon Web Services. I mean, you guys know it as Amazon, but realistically, like Web Services is what I worked for, and honestly, it's most of what finances the company. So, I'll just say I work for AWS. And yeah, like it's all been build work, right? Like the team I joined was called Network Scaling and Infrastructure. Network Scaling Infrastructure. I should probably know this since I've been doing it for a while, but it says scaling, but realistically, it's like building stuff and then decommissioning the old stuff, or leaving it in place in some cases. But yeah, it's builder work, right? And then I think like I've been there for like 7 years, and half of it was like scaling in Singapore, and the other half was volunteering and eventually becoming a full-time like AWS builder in Asia Pacific. So since I've mentioned both my employers, like clearly there's some stuff that I can't talk about, or I can't talk about in specifics, and if I accidentally talk about it, just know that I didn't want to. So yeah, I mean, I've always been doing builder work in IT, and I don't like using the word IT because like now it's just infrastructure, just like electricity and water and air. Like it's just another infrastructure job that I'm building. And yeah, I really don't know, like this whole tech winter thing. Like I don't really even have to say anything specific to my company or any other company, like my employers or any other specific employers. Like I'm gonna talk about what everyone has seen in the news, but I can't talk about what Amazon has done in the and even though it got leaked to the news, because like I still work for them now, and even after my last day, I will still have worked for them. So like legally, there's a bunch of stuff that I can get in trouble for. But like I would just say, like, the news you see about like tech winter for other companies like Google, like, it's not unique to Google. I can't confirm it, I can't deny it, but if you kind of look at the stuff that is being written about Google CEO Sundar Pichai now, and just kind of how like Google has lost its way as a big company, like it's all kind of mired in process and approvals, and people are just spending all like 70% of their time just looking for approvals and sitting in meetings. Like, I don't want to say that's what it's like at Amazon, but I feel it. So yeah, the tech industry is like just kind of in a bad place, and yeah, I think because of some it's just like workplace politics, I guess. And like I didn't want to believe it. Like I didn't want to believe that I had to deal with politics, because I think the reason, like, I don't think I've ever considered myself like a people person, and like the kind of work I chose to do and the kind of projects I chose to do, and how I chose to spend my day, with, of course, like with I was never forced to do something where I had to work with people. So like I consciously avoided being a project manager. I consciously chose projects where like we have, I mean, I wouldn't say that I have no autonomy. Like it's projects with a lot of autonomy and projects with a lot of ambiguity, but I intentionally chose a job description where the essence of the work is to build things, and it's not necessarily like you have to work with people. It's more like as a consequence, or like as part of the day to day of getting that build done. I work with people, but it's not like I mean, let's put it this way: like there's people in the company, or there's like job roles where specifically, your like your reason for existence is to work with people. And what I mean is like middle management. Like I could say lots of terrible things about it, but like the job description is basically a people thing. You're not an individual contributor. You're a manager. You're a team lead. Whatever you wanna call it. Like I think it's just that boundary between IC and being a team lead, and I've always consciously chosen to stay on the side of being an IC. And being an IC doesn't mean that you don't have to work with people, and I did have to work with people, and I put as much effort as I needed to work with people. So obviously what I mean is like, as an IC, you need to get certain things done. That means getting people to do it for you, convincing them to help you, but not necessarily to the level of being a project manager where you have this concept of influencing without authority. And the reason that exists is because you don't do the work yourself, right? That's kind of the whole description of what a project manager does, is that you don't do the work yourself. Instead, you kind of work with the people who do the work, and you deliver the project. And yeah, so I mean, as an individual contributor, like you deal with politics as kind of like a peripheral kind of thing. Like it's just a result of you're not working. You don't live on an island kind of thing. In order to get certain things done, you have to work with people, and that's kind of the extent of it. And beyond that, that's the reason why you have project managers. That's the reason why you have middle managers. They exist as an escalation pathway or as a coordination pathway to other teams that get this stuff done for you. When you've kind of reached the limit as an individual contributor, like I know why this needs to get done, but it's not my authority, or it's not my I don't like to say it's not my job, because it has such a terrible connotation to it, but like literally it's not my job description to go chasing people who don't believe what I say, because like that's why these people exist. People. So these people exist because I've kind of reached my limitation as an individual contributor. I don't want to deal with inter-team politics. I don't want to deal with like the vision of my team or the vision of my organization. You guys go figure that out, because like as an IC, I just want to do the freaking best work I can do. And so that's where I was, right? And there's like certain job levels within Amazon, and kind of the end of what you would consider an IC. So at Amazon, like there's job levels from level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. With one being like the lowest. But generally, I think for full time we start at like level 3 jobs, which would be more like trainee, and level 4 is kind of like a decent like individual contributor level to start at. So level 5 is kind of where you top out as an individual contributor. So that's where I ended up, where you're kind of like an IC, but you also operate at a level where you have, inter-team impact. And that's not to say that you are a project manager or you're a manager where you deal with escalations with other teams or you try to influence the way other teams work at that kind of level, but it's more just like I'm a high functioning IC, so when I meet limitations in my IC role where I have to fight with other teams, then I go get it. But at the same time, like I don't try to change how other teams work as much as to a kind of process or global kind of level. So yeah, I'm kind of beating around the bush, but I think the whole point is that as an IC, I felt like I was dealing with just way too much politics. And again, this is like my experience or my direct experience with my direct peers or the teams that I work with. And I wouldn't say I'm trying to represent like a bigger problem at AWS. Every team is different. I think that's the beauty of working in, a big company that kind of follows small company values, which is that, you got a huge company with like millions of people. I don't think we have millions of people, but it's like in the hundred thousands of people, and yet like small team culture, right? Every team operates slightly differently, and that's how you get the flexibility where if your manager has like 10 people and these 10 people have a certain working style that you can converge upon, then good for these 10 people. You don't have to adhere to like you don't feel so much of that like cog in the machine kind of thing because of this small teams concept. But yeah, like I think even then, I started having to deal with like a level of politics which I feel like no individual contributor should have to deal with, which I would kind of summarize as the politics got to the point where like I couldn't build anymore. Like the focus of my day-to-day work was not to be a builder, but kind of like to deal with the paperwork of building things. And so that's kind of my personal experience. And also like I felt a lot of empathy when I was reading the news about what Google is going through now with Sundar Pichai, which is that again, like these are all allegations, but I think like reading the articles I really felt a lot of empathy about people just spending 70% of their time doing paperwork, getting approvals, and yeah, I think I kind of feel that, to the core for a couple of years. And, it sucks. And actually, like, it's more like I was feeling that on my side of the fence at my employer, AWS, in my team specifically. Like, I don't want to say, like, it's an AWS-wide problem. But and I was kind of hoping to be able to change companies, so I was so yeah, in the chat, Sifli asked if it was politics or if it was process, or aligning things. And I know this is going to go into my recording, so this is more of like me thinking aloud. Weirdly enough, it really wasn't a process thing. Yeah, I don't know if I would say it's a process thing, because at the end of the day, like it's all influenced by like managers who want the process, and sometimes I feel like all these approvals and whatever, I wouldn't consider it new process. It's more we're doing something that we've been doing the same way for a couple of years now, and I'm not saying that things can't change. It's more like we have an established way of doing things, and then we have new middle managers, or like, yeah, I think we have new middle managers, or like because of constant reorgs at this kind of scale, we're working with new teams, and we're just doing things that we've already been doing. But then a lot of people like put their hands up, and kind of go like, wait, isn't there some kind of process that you need to go through, or like isn't there some approval, or like why isn't there an approval? Like you mean you can just do this without raising an approval, kind of thing. Um, again, like I can't go into like too much specifics, but it's kind of just a general culture of, um, we're doing something that we've always done. That usually would not result in a bunch of communication by email or a bunch of approvals or a bunch of tickets. And I'm not saying that necessarily, everything should happen like in the dark. But it's more like there's an established process that's been documented in a wiki somewhere, and we're just following it. But people are kind of like watching from the outside, saying like, why isn't there an approval for this? Like just because you've been doing all along, like I kind of want to see approvals, like people should be more aware of it, kind of thing. So it's just this whole like this whole need for visibility for things that other teams have no business being involved in. I think it's a question of like my team's autonomy, or like even at a personal level. I wouldn't say a personal level, because like as a team we try to be in sync on how we do things, but like on a team level, it's like our team knows what we're doing. We have internal documentation telling us to do this, and it doesn't involve your team. So why does everything need to be on a distribution list? Why does everyone need to be informed? Why do we need to tell you we're doing this? So there's just this like real multiplication effect of like people putting their hands up in meetings and saying like, hey, I want to find out more about this because I think it impacts me. And it's just blowing up. So I wouldn't say it's process. I would pretty much say it's politics. It's a lot of like, and I'll give you a specific example. But I can't contextualize it too much because it's AWS and we love secrets. So it's a word that I've been hearing a lot for the past 2 years, which is the word visibility. I've had so many complaints about my teams or my personal lack of visibility, which I've been trying to fight for this, saying not everything needs to be visible. Not everything that we do needs to be in a ticket. Not everything we do needs to be in an email. Think things get done. Like, just fucking trust us once in a while. Our team has like a defined scope and we deliver it, and you don't have to care what's in this black box. You just have to give me my prerequisites and trust that it's going to be delivered. And in the past 2 years, it's been just I wish it was process, I wish it was alignment, but it's just politics. It's just people stepping in saying like, hey, you guys didn't say you were doing this. How can I believe that the work is being done? So I think that's where I really felt a lot of empathy when I saw all the complaints about how Google has become like just mired in, meetings and emails and calls and syncs and approvals. And I think that's really what I meant. So yeah, I really don't know. Like, I've been working at AWS for the past 7 years, and I have no idea why the entire tech industry has converged on the same problems. And I'm tempted to think, it's hard to say whether it's like correlation or causation, but like all the tech companies did massive hiring during COVID. I don't know why. And like, maybe it's like xenophobia at this point, and I don't mean like racial xenophobia. I just mean like new blood and old blood kind of thing. Maybe it's a culture thing. Maybe having a lot of new hires at once means the culture shifts towards people like new people asking questions, which is fine. But I'm just having so much trouble with the need for visibility. I think it's the word I'm going for. Like, when you're new to a company, like, you have to accept that the way org structures work is like some things are just supposed to be a black box to you. It's just technology so advanced that it's indistinguishable from magic, right? Like, you give my team certain information and magically a data center appears, and I think there's a lack of acceptance for that somehow. like, we need to see every part of the process. Like, you need to copy us on every email. You need to let us watch. You need to let us watch as you're pulling the fibers. If not, you know what's getting done, and I'm not happy with that. So yeah, and yeah, again, Sifli, like, I wish it was just Amazon. I really wish it was just Amazon. I really don't know why I look at the news about every goddamn company out there, and like everything's happened in the past year. Which is really why, that's one of the big reasons. Like, this whole tech winter thing is just a whole convergence of like reasons not to stay in tech. And I think, again, specifically, I mean, like, building. Like, it's becoming so hard to build things now with the amount of like bureaucracy or middleman, whatever you want to call it. Like, just doing people things when there's people hired to take care of it. Um, and maybe it's just, I don't know if it's just me. Like, I'd be quite curious if there's any other like ICs out there who kind of feel like, I joined this company as an IC, but somehow in the past year I've been expected to become a people manager, like managing upwards, managing downwards, managing sideways, to get things done. But I don't know. Is it just me becoming jaded? Why are things becoming less simple? I don't know. Um, yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know, seriously. Like, like you said, it might be because of middle managers outflowing from Amazon. I feel like we've lost some very good people too, and some of these very good people have gone on to companies where the culture has gone sour as well. So I don't know, man. So yeah, I think one of the main reasons for me like wanting to leave the tech industry is just the amount of like people management that I've had to do as an IC is becoming quite unbearable. I don't mean like bureaucracy necessarily. I don't mean processes. Like, the day that I joined Amazon like 7 years ago, like, they love, like, Amazon loves processes, and that's, I wouldn't say it's good or bad. Like, that's company culture, right? It's what we call continuous improvement. It's what we call what the heck is that stupid diagram we have in every office? I can't remember. It's this freaking like 4 quadrant continuous improvement diagram, which is fine. Like, like, I can see why it exists. If we don't, we don't have to like. I think when I joined, like, it was like, it's unspoken, but like at the back of everyone's head, we all know, it's not this stick that you hit everything with. Like, you kind of pick the low hanging fruit and you hit it with the continuous improvement stick, and things get better. And that's good work. That's all in the day's work of continuous improvement. And I mean, I'm all for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just it's just, I don't know how like all of this like good culture stuff that we apply to all the low hanging fruit to solve, like, the biggest problems we have. We take these like really good concepts and we apply it to like the biggest problems, and we deliver like tremendous impact. Like, fair enough. Like, paperwork process, love it. But my goodness, yeah, I think I'm gonna like just keep rehashing it if I go on about this. But yeah, I think that's one big reason to leave the industry is just IC's doing too much politicking. I'll get back to that about the expansion. I think the second reason for leaving is just I think the impact that I deliver. And this is very personal. It's not so much a culture problem. I mean, maybe it's a company-wide problem or an industry-wide problem, but like, on a personal level, like, I love having like like the ability to make changes that have huge impacts. And what I mean is, like, I think every year every year at AWS, I've made a decision that has saved like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and some years it's millions of dollars. Like, you have no idea like how much slips through the crack. I mean, maybe you have an idea, but at a company of this scale, like, a lot of stuff slips through the cracks because it's like $1 billion or $1 trillion company. So what's like $1 million of equipment lying around. But I think, like, on an individual level, you kind of find opportunities just on your day-to-day work to save like hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and awesome. Like it feels great, right? And I don't mean like I'm saving Amazon money. I mean like, that there's like hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment that would otherwise be like just completely wasted because, this is like technical stuff, right? It's electronics, okay? It's got a shelf life. Everything we do, like the level of progress that's being made in every front of technology is huge. Like the life cycle of tech equipment can be like 1 year to 3 years, and after that, like the life cycle ends because like it's worth nothing. Because in that 3 years, we've come up with newer, denser, lower power technologies. Like this shit is just going to be worthless if we ignore it for like 1 to 3 years. And so there's so much stuff that in my day-to-day it's just like, how can we better use this shit that's lying around? Because if we don't touch it, it's going to gather dust for a while and then it's going straight to the landfill. So there's millions of dollars of stuff that, I mean, I'm not enough of a company person that I'll say like, this should be making Amazon money, but it's more like I just don't want shit lying around and going to the landfill, and it saves millions of dollars. It's being used for like public good. I wouldn't even say it's public good, but infrastructure. It's infrastructure that could be serving people that's being put in the bin. So like I love that. It's high impact stuff, and I really believe that when I first joined AWS, like I was surrounded by people who cared about this kind of impact, and I don't necessarily mean, I'm working with people who are all out there to save the earth or, save millions of dollars or serve the public. But I think regardless of whether they're out there to do it, I think what was more important to me is that I was surrounded by people who shared at least the values of it, meaning that, if I told my team, like, by the way, like I sent an email or I made this arrangement that saved us like, $500,000 of equipment. I'm not saying like, we'll jerk each other off about how we all save money. What I mean is like, everyone kind of sees the value of it. Everyone is like relieved or happy or just, it's just a positive feeling that, our team kind of like was that last resort where like if we didn't step in, all this shit would have gone to waste. Which is great. Like being surrounded by people who see this kind of value, it's awesome. Being around people who appreciate that kind of impact, it's awesome. And I feel like that's gone. I don't want to say I don't want to say it's a company culture thing, but it's just like from my day-to-day experience, I feel like in like the my immediate peers or in the immediate people that I'm working with, it's become it's become taken for granted. All right, it's become taken for granted in a sense that if I try my darndest to make the best use of all the money we've spent, of all the hardware lying around, like people don't feel anything about it anymore. It's kind of like, yeah, all right, makes sense. Let's take this hardware and let's use it. And if you don't use it and it gets landfilled, I don't think anyone has any feeling about it either. So like it's become so like I feel like everyone's just dead inside in a way. Like everyone has felt like it's so routine to like have missing things or like have things lying around, or even if you take them and use them, like who cares, right? Like it's a huge company. It's normal to have this thing happen. Like whether you use it or not doesn't really matter. So I might be wrong. Like maybe there's one or two people out there who care, but I just don't feel it anymore. I wouldn't say consumers. It's more like people have gotten very comfortable with being a cog in the machine. All they care about is, do we have what we need to build this? And if we don't, can we order it? There's really a lack of, at Amazon we call it bias for action. I don't want to use that word. I feel like, it extends way beyond that. It's kind of like, the word I'm looking for is even just resourcefulness, I think is the word I'm looking for. There's a lack of resourcefulness. It's a lot of like, we need to build something. So have you bought the hardware? And no one thinks about like, Do we already have it? Is it lying somewhere? Is there something in someone's office like can I just hit up an email list or hit up somebody who's there and ask like, hey, could you poke your head in there and see if like there's actually any of these like SFPs or whatever in there, and we could use it, like, why order something new? Like, I know, like, $100 SFP or $100 uh cable even or whatever, like it's chump change, right? Like whether we spend that money or not, it's not gonna affect the bottom line. And whether or not this SFP module in the storeroom rots or not, it's not gonna make a damn difference to the bottom line. Heck, like throwing away $100,000 router is really not gonna make a difference to the bottom line. But working around people who feel that way, like, people who don't value or people who don't appreciate you being resourceful, you looking around, digging in storerooms, asking around for, like, how can we avoid this unnecessary new order? How can we avoid this unnecessary paperwork of getting this hardware when we could just, chuck some stuff in a box, put a shipping label on it, and I have it. So yeah, I feel like there's just a lack of I think, yeah, maybe care is the word, but it's more like, you want to work around people who see the impact, who feel the impact, that they can bring to, I don't want to say to their job, it's more to the world, right? Like, there's you're bringing stuff to the world, but you can't do it without the structure of a job generally, or at least, a workplace or some kind of organization, right? You could call it social, you could call it business, whatever, but you just want to be surrounded by people in this structure who kind of like feel the same impact that you do, or at least want to make the same impact you do. But these days, I really don't feel that anymore. And it could just be me, right? I could just be like dead inside or something. Maybe my colleagues do care, maybe my peers do care, maybe someone in the office is rummaging for something, but I guess I just don't feel it anymore. And so it's my turn to remove myself from this environment where I don't feel like I feel people have the same kind of passion for impact that I do. And I think that actually has to do with the organization expanding, perhaps. Like, I think it's kind of a complicated thing to manage, because like when you get to kind of but then again, it's hard to say, because pre-COVID you could say that we were already like, at a size that was way bigger than you could have, a kind of personal connection to. So I feel like COVID didn't change it that measurably. Like the organization grew by like, I don't know the numbers. Like it's obviously somewhere, but I'm not gonna look it up because it's just too much work to find it, and at the same time, like, I don't think I can talk about it. But like the company was already gigantic before the expansion of headcount for COVID. So like a specific example would be, I feel like beyond a certain size, like a problem that you would assume would happen is that your all hands meetings, they stop becoming two-way. They become very unidirectional, because like at a certain size, like whether it's in person or remote, when you have an executive standing on a stage, and when the company gets a certain size, the stage gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the person on stage gets tinier and tinier and tinier, and they can no longer take audience questions. They can no longer it just kind of changes the scale, when you're in an auditorium full of people. And when I say auditorium, I think like I'm just thinking more like no auditorium the size, like nothing like what we have in Singapore, right? Like an all hands at Amazon would be like hundreds of people kind of thing, maybe thousands, I really don't know. But the whole dynamic changes. But at the same time, pre-COVID, we already had enough people to fill an auditorium that size. We already had the CEO tiny enough on that huge stage. So like, I'm inclined to think that that this feeling I have, I wouldn't ascribe it to the growth in headcount, honestly. Like I feel like it's just like, clearly, Amazon has had a change in CEO, and the way they communicate, it's going to be different. I can't say which is better or worse, and I don't want to, because I don't want to get in trouble for like slandering Andrew Jassy and whatever. But I think my whole point is that I feel like the change in execs had a change in like what it's just going back to the point about caring and impact. Like I feel like the change of CEO from Jeff Bezos to Andrew Jassy, like they clearly care about different things, and they clearly have very different ideas of the kind of impact they can make on the world. And like personally, I don't really care, but somehow I don't know if it's related or not, but just the immediate kind of organization I'm surrounded with, there's just a lack of like care and a lack of impact. Like a lack. I just want to be surrounded by people who give a shit about the impact that they can do. Like honestly, we're like, I'm gonna sound like I'm shilling for mega corporations, but like we're given so much opportunity to create impact, and people waste it by spending their day in Outlook, spending their day with tickets and approvals and shit. Um, like sure, like it's the long way around to making impact, but just go make some damn impact. So yeah, maybe I'm in the wrong place. Maybe the place has changed. Maybe I've changed. It's probably all of the above. Yeah, so that's the second reason why I'm leaving tech. And I think the third reason, which I think I'm gonna just keep it to three for simplicity. Otherwise, I'd be here all day. Yeah. So the third reason is again, like, I think this one was kind of decided for me, um, and like I don't know if it's like I think it's partly me and partly the companies. So I think something really demotivating as well, with this whole tech winter situation is that there's just so many problems, right? So let's start with like the most obvious one, which is that companies are losing HR and recruiters. Um, and so like recruiters that are managing like the roles I've been applying for, I don't know if she's still with the company. Which if you are, like, could you reply to your emails, please? um, so this recruiter I was talking to, like, I had like maybe 4 or 5 jobs at Google that I was interested in. So I applied through the website and just sent a friendly bump on the email, like, all right, I've put these applications in. Let me know how it goes. Um, and then I get a reply saying like, oh, I'll be on vacation for a week. So fair enough. Like you can go on a 1 week vacation. So I like waited forever. I didn't bump the thread for 2 or 3 weeks, and 3 weeks later I was like, hi, I just wanted to check. Like, is anything happening? Should I talk to someone? Are you overloaded? And should I just like go into like the open, because Google has a kind of like distribution list that goes for escalations. Like if your recruiter is not around, email this. Excuse me. Like email this inbox to get escalation. So I thought like, as a courtesy thing, I would be like, are you still there? Are you busy? Um, and so I got no reply then, which is like, are you guys, Google, like, are you firing your recruiters without setting up auto replies or like forwards to this general mailbox? Like, what's going on? So obviously there's like another possibility, which is just that I'm not being considered for the work, which is totally fine. like it's a tech winter thing, right? The market is flush with like really good people now, and my heart goes out to these like actually good people. Like there's been a lot of like indiscriminate, is firings the word, terminations, golden handshakes. I don't know, golden handshake sounds kind of gross, but yeah, I mean there's been a lot of terminations going around, like indiscriminate terminations. And yeah, so the market is kind of washed with good people, so I completely understand if like good people are being considered. I just didn't realize that like recruiters too busy to reply when a position has been filled, and I don't even like I don't have this illusion of grandeur where as an applicant everyone deserves a reply. Like it's nice if it's nice if the company makes time to reply to everyone, telling them the role's been filled, but at the same time, like, the role is still open on the jobs website. And I think this is another thing that's not unique to Google, like Amazon jobs. There have been a lot of filled roles where the job just remains open on the Amazon jobs portal. Don't know why. And it's so frustrating because this doesn't just impact me, it impacts friends who are asking me for referrals. And then I drop a message internally to the hiring manager, and they said, "Oh, the role's been filled." And I'm like, "Okay, so why is the Amazon jobs listing still there?" And they're like, "Oh, it's probably the recruiter who forgot." So yeah, just a lot of general. I don't know if it. Yeah, Safely says like it was like that before the tech winter. So I really don't know. Like yeah, it's just an exercise in frustration, right? Yeah, I think it's reached a point where like do people really care about hiring people at all? Like like if the position really is open, do you just have a short staff team somewhere dealing with the stress because you can't be bothered to check your inbox? Like what's going on? Um, and I think that kind of goes to the point where it's like, you know what, if tech companies can't be bothered to manage the recruiting process, if they're firing their recruiters, and if the recruiters can't be asked to respond, then if your job listing site is not accurate, then like I mean, do you even care? Should I work for a company that doesn't bother to update their recruitment? Like, yeah, it's just terrible. um so I think that's just the third reason. So like I just want to recap for myself. So the first reason for leaving the tech industry is individual contributors are doing way too much people management, and they're being expected to do a lot of people person jobs where we have people to do that. I mean, like, good or bad, not my problem. I don't care. You have someone in that role. Do it. Like, just freaking do it. Let me be a good IC. So that's the first reason. And again, like, I clarified earlier that I don't think that ICs can completely avoid people things. It's just how much of it. Like, Google's like 70% dealing with approvals now. There's people saying. So yeah, IC doing too much people thing. The second one was just I really feel like people that I'm working with no longer care about the kind of impact that they can have. They don't appreciate when you make a high impact decision, and I mean, like, in a positive way, of course, because like people do notice when you do like high impact negative stuff. But yeah, just not being surrounded by people who care about impact anymore. And the third one being that moving horizontally, moving to a different company, like, just the whole recruitment situation now is broken. I like just recruiters ghosting, recruiters getting fired, just like, just do a fucking handover. You're looking for people. Like, do these roles just go unfilled? Like, are the people that I want to work with, like, just being burned out because of this? So yeah, I guess these are the three reasons. So it really just terrible coincidence with the tech winter. Like, I don't know if these problems. I guess these problems have always existed before the tech winter, but just the whole, like, convergence of everything makes it really painful to want to work in tech right now. And again, at the start of the stream, I said when I say working in tech, I mean, like, I want to be a builder. I want to build infrastructure. I want to build things. Cause like, I did post, like, to my social media a while ago about looking for tech jobs, and I got stuff like come support our office Wi-Fi, come set up our printers, do desk side kind of thing. Which I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to look down on these jobs. It's just not what I'm looking for. Because I like the challenge. I like the impact. That comes with, like, a builder job. And yeah, it's just kind of impossible right now. And even if someone reached out to me now, kind of over it. So yeah. Yes, it looks like a midlife crisis. But so I've been thinking of doing different things, right? So I think what I really wanted to do, which I found very difficult, is and I know I'm kind of like unpacking my emotions on stream, but there were a few things that I was looking for. But I think the number one thing that I really wanted to do, and I wouldn't say I tried super hard, but I did try, and I'll tell you about it later, is that I really wanted to apply tech in a tangential industry. And so what I mean is, like, applying tech to farming, applying tech to construction, applying tech to cooking, whatever, just there's so many things which like I wouldn't say tech makes everything better. Cause like tech didn't make owning JPEGs better. Tech didn't make sending money to each other better recently. But there's plenty of shit that there's just so much going to waste because we aren't being intelligent about it and applying tech to things. And hey, you said tech made my toaster better, but like if you had something that toasts bread perfectly every time, you would never waste. You wouldn't throw away a piece of toast because it was burnt, or you wouldn't have to scrape it, whatever. So like, there's a whole bunch of shit that's going on in the real world that could be made better by tech, and I think that's something I really wanted to do. I really wanted to apply myself to tech. Apply myself by putting tech in, farming, agritech. And so I'll tell you about that because Singapore has a lot of agritech startups, but strangely enough, maybe they matured, maybe they grew too big. I don't know. They're not really startups anymore, or they're not behaving like startups. Maybe they got round C, whatever, but they're no longer behaving like they're on round A. And so I live pretty close to this. I don't know what I would call it. It's Sprout Hub. And let me Google it. Sprout Hub. Oh, it's called City Sprouts. Anyway, it's an urban farming project. Kind of near me. It's in Bukit Merah. It's where one of the schools in Bukit Merah used to be. So it's kind of like a kind of a mix up between traditional community farming plots and agritech. Yes, it's the place with weird colored lights at night, but not anymore, or soon not anymore, because basically it was this school where the multi-purpose hall of the school was converted to a vertical farm, and then like the car park in front of the school was turned into like small plots which you can rent to do your own agriculture stuff. And it's like really small plots with like I think just water and electricity, but like I don't think it's outdoor, so there's a limit to like what you can do with the outdoor plots. But the indoor one was interesting because it was basically vertical farming in what used to be like a basketball court / hall. So yeah, because I live nearby, I decided to drop by. And this company called City Sprouts is still there. And so like they did. I basically just I did like something that probably comes from like our grandfather's era, which is like I basically cold called and asked for work, which I thought the novelty would be appreciated by like people working in agritech, but I guess not. Because basically they were very surprised when I showed up and said like, oh, I work for AWS. I play with microcontrollers, like I can do microcontroller programming, I can do soldering, I can do like I can do like, what's the word for it? Like maker kind of shit, like I've got a 3D printer, I've got power tools, like I want to get down and dirty with agritech. And they were very confused when I came in saying that. And basically they told me that, every Saturday we have a farmer's market and we're looking for volunteers to help out with the harvesting and the selling. And I was like, you don't have any you don't need any people in tech. You don't need anyone to kind of densify or improve or kind of like just kind of like I basically said like I have this skill set and I want to find things that I can improve. So like I gave some examples, right? Like, can we improve the efficiency of the hydroponics? Can we improve the efficiency of like the lighting or the cooling? Like, or can we at least like get metrics on it and graph it and see like, with this data, what can we do? So yeah, not interested. Looking for volunteers to help with harvesting and with the farmers market, but dude, I don't want to say they don't care about the agri-tech part of it, but like apparently not looking for tech people. So yeah, cold calling agri-tech doesn't really work. And so like I mentioned, there won't be any of this in City Sprouts soon because that company has moved. The one that was inside the multi-purpose hall doing the vertical farming has moved to Singapore Science Park. Um, and I will tell you what the name of the company is soon once I look at my Google location history. They have moved to Syntech. And I can tell you soon if Google will give me what I'm looking for. Let's see. It's basically opposite the NUS agritech thing. NUS agritech Singapore Science Park. NUS agritech center. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Syngrow. Thanks. So the company is called Syngrow. I don't know why they've moved out of the social enterprise space at City Sprouts. They've moved to Syntech at Singapore Science Park, and again, like I tried to do this very like old school grandfather thing of like just cold calling. I mean, like physically cold calling, like just cold showing up and asking for work. So I went to Singapore Science Center, right, and I walked to the address of Syngrow. They don't have an actual office. I really don't know how to describe it. If you go to Syngrow at Singapore Science Park, you will realize that they don't like their whole unit there is just unmarked doors. Like you wouldn't know they were there if unless you looked at the tenants list downstairs. And so what I mean is like you would expect a company to have like at least one pair of glass doors, you know, like literally like a freaking reception, someone you could talk to. But no, Syngrow, no glass doors, no sign that they occupy the unit, no one to talk to, no reception, nothing. Like I think they're just using the unit there as a farm and nothing else. And again, like I'm not trying to say there's something wrong with that. It's just like, you know, Syngrow has no careers page. Syngrow has no careers email. Syngrow has nobody to talk to when you go to their listed address. So I could try harder. I could call them, but like the whole experience of looking for people of looking for agritech people to work for, it's just has just been impossible. Like I guess maybe I'm a bit spoiled, but like I feel like this is I think one of the reasons I wanted to go into like agritech is because like it's a real problem that, you know, with the way the weather systems in the world are changing and with population growth and everything, like food is a real problem that, you know, we could very easily address. And I think that Singapore kind of cares about it, like at least in the past 2 years, like with City Sprouts and with like agritech and everything. Like every now and then Singapore like really loves to go into agritech. But like when you show up at these companies, like there's no one to talk to and they're not looking for people. So I don't know. Kind of jaded about it too. So yeah. Yep, there's a whole lot of funding, but it really makes me feel like people are just going through the motions. I really don't know. Like, you know, let's take this funding and build a indoor farm and see some results and you know, close shop. I don't know what the hell happens after funding runs out, right? Yeah, I don't know. Like, where does okay? So the thing is, like, I feel like a company like Singro would have two addresses, right? One is where the growing happens, and the second one is like where the people hang out. And I can't find their people. I don't know where they hang out. Like I went to City Sprouts, and their neighbor basically told me that you know, they moved. Maybe they're 100% remote, but how to contact them, right? Anyway, it's probably quite easy to contact them. It's just that, you know, I have a very low threshold for giving up, and I've given up. So You know what? If it's so hard to improve farming in Singapore, then so be it. um, what else did I want to do? I've already forgotten. But I think the other okay. So anyway, so the first thing I wanted to do was apply tech tangentially. And agritech was something I was really looking at. I would love to do like just random microcontroller R&D stuff as well, but uh, it's kind of too broad to look right now. Like agritech is easy to look for. Things you can apply microcontrollers to a bit harder to look for. Don't really know what it's called, and robotics is like quite in the realm of educational institutions right now. But I feel like it's a problem looking for a solution in Singapore. So the other thing on my short list was bus driving. So I don't know like how many people watching like have watched my earlier streams, which were almost entirely bus driving streams on OMSI2, which is this bus simulator game that runs very poorly on modern computers. So I figured, it'd be fun to be a bus driver in real life. And I think that's the other thing that I wanted to vlog about. Um, was kind of the journey of becoming of how to become a bus driver. So that's really the next part of the stream slash vlog thing, which is my bus driver journey. I actually wanted to document it as I was going through it, and I'll tell you what I've gone through so far. So it all started with recruitment at SBS Transit. So SBS Transit holds recruitment in two different ways for bus captains, which is the first way is I think on 2 days or 3 days a week. I'm not super sure. It's on their website. You can walk into their depot at Ang Mo Kio. Ang Mo Kio Bus Depot is where their HR lives, which seems to be three people handling Ang Mo Kio Bus Depot's HR. But basically, you can go there anytime during the listed hours to interview for a bus captain job, or you can attend their roadshow at Tampines Bus Interchange, which happens every first something of the month or something like that. I can't remember because I've been through it, so I don't need to remember, but it's all on their website if you're interested in becoming a bus captain, which hopefully you are by the end of this. So basically, I went to the roadshow at Tampines because I decided, so back then we still had to wear masks on public transport, and I decided I'm not going to put my mask on for like an hour and a half to do the interview there. So I went to Tampines instead because I drove there, which I'll talk about later because I have to sell my car. So I went to Tampines Bus Interchange for the interview because I figured like it'd be a more casual setup. Like, it's literally like two plastic desks in the middle of Tampines Interchange with like two HR people looking super out of place. And basically it's two plastic desks and a little like printout poster thing standing next to them about the benefits and potential salary. So yeah, that's how the journey started. I went to Tampines Interchange, and I kind of asked, I have an interest in becoming a bus driver. Can I ask you more about it? And so yeah, I'm not sure what I can disclose, but seeing as I haven't signed an NDA yet, I guess I can tell you like the basics because this is stuff that the interviewers that at the roadshow tell everybody, right? So some interesting facts about working for SBS Transit. Before I'm bound by any kind of obligation to the company. So the base salary as a bus driver for SBS Transit is $2,450. And this is for a 4-day work week. I'm assuming it's a 10-hour shift for these 4 days. I cannot remember exactly how many hours, but I know it's a 4-day work week. And the base salary is 2,450. And these 4 days will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday night shifts. So that's kind of like the expectation that you go in with. Sorry about the autofocus. And basically you can choose between a 4, 5, and a 6-day work week. So the 4-day work week is the minimum. It's basically the maximum. Sorry, is the maximum number of hours you can work according to the Ministry of Manpower Singapore. So for the 5 and 6 day work week, basically, it goes from being just night shift to a rotating shift system, um, including some split shifts as well, which means like you do part of your shift in the early part of the day and another part of your shift in the late part of the day, which is kind of unpopular with some drivers. I think in the news there were bus drivers complaining about split shifts, but basically, yeah, if you do a 5 or 6 day work week, um, you get heaps of OT, like overtime pay, because as part of these 5 or 6 days, you're working like the same long shifts you're doing on your 4-day work week. So everything more than that 4-day 40 hour, is it 40 hour? I think it's 40 hour. So over your 5 or 6 day week, you basically get OT pay for every extra you do over that base 4-day work week. Which is exactly why if you look at the posters during the recruitment drive, it says like earn up to like, was it like $4,000 or $5,000? I can't remember what they put there, but that's basically all OTs and bonuses. And they also have like a safe driving bonus or something which scales by how many days a week you work. So I think if you do a 4-day work week, it's like $80. If you do 5, it's 100, and if you do 6, it's 120. Which is basically just like a bonus for like not wrecking your bus during your work day, I guess. So yeah, that $4,000 is basically, I think, your like 5 or 6 day work week, OT included. But yeah, you start with 2450, and everything else like it's basically OTs and bonuses. So yeah, back to like the experience of interviewing at Tampines Bus Interchange. Basically, you sit down and they have like hard copy, photocopied forms for you to fill up. It's mostly boring stuff, and honestly, like you would expect the bus company to be kind of old school, which the photocopied documents do give you that vibe. But also like a lot of the information that they wanted in that interview form or whatever form you wanna call it has been like removed. So I think like consciously, like over the years, the HR has decided like maybe we don't need to know everything about them. So that's kind of funny because there's stuff they ask, like they ask you about details about your mother, your father, and your siblings and things like that. That's all been like cancelled from the photocopied forms. So kind of funny. Like I've applied for jobs like long ago, even in tech, even in like computers, where the HR kind of wants to know your brothers and your sisters. So it's kind of interesting to me. Yeah, you go there, you fill in the form. It's quite basic information, honestly. It's things like your work history, your education, your health, that kind of like very basic stuff, and nothing more. So I was honestly quite happy with that. Like I expected, the company to be a lot older school than that, but it was kind of okay. Yeah. So, until we got to the part where I filled in my job history and my salary history, and she was like, you're taking a big pay cut, like more than $6,000 pay cut, and I was like, well. Yeah, I had to tell her like I've already like given my last day of work to Amazon, so you gotta see it from the context of I'm not going from like like I should I say I don't know how much I'm being paid, honestly. Like I haven't calculated it, but I just told her like I don't it's, you can't see it as a pay cut of like 8,000 ish to 2,000 ish dollars. Like you have to see it as like after February 28th I'll be at home eating instant noodles. So you gotta see it in the context of like you guys are saving me from unemployment. um so yeah, I think the HR lady, she was very like amused, I think. And they actually do conduct interviews of all their applicants. And so there were a few interesting questions, which is I think one of them was like what do you think is the most important thing as a bus captain, I think. And I think you could give a very fluff reply. Like you could say like, oh, like making sure the passengers are happy and comfortable, whatever. But I think I went for like the very technical reply, which is I said, I think other than like the passengers' safety and getting them from A to B, comfortably, I think the more important thing is that LTA, Land Transport Authority for non-Singaporeans, enforces really strict standards on time performance of buses. And I think as a passenger, my experience is that drivers have a really hard time adhering to this schedule. But to me, I think that's going to be the biggest challenge, and also quite important because at the end of the day, like, there's so many complaints from people, like, two buses came at the same time and then I waited 20 minutes for the next bus, that kind of thing. So to me, it was very like, I think it's hard to see the value of it if you've been driving the bus for a while. But to me, that's like the biggest challenge, and the biggest value is like the bus arrives on time. Because LTA enforces these, because it's kind of like, it's just people's expectations, right? You stand at the bus stop and you want the bus to come in 5 minutes. So she was like, oh, okay. So I avoided the fluff reply. And what was the other one? There was another question that I found interesting. While I think about that, there's this question about, does that 10 hours include rest time, as well as whether 4 days is the minimum. So basically, after the training, which I was told that training takes anywhere between a few weeks to 3 months. Right after the training, once you get confirmed, I think, I don't know what the word is, or maybe before you get confirmed, they put you on a 4-day work week, working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And you have to do this 4-day work week for a while before they will let you switch over to the 5 or 6 day. So yes, 4 days is the minimum, and you can't do more than that until SBS is sure that during the relatively easy night shifts and weekend shifts, you basically prove yourself to like not destroy the bus, I guess. And then you get the freedom of choosing like more flexible like overtime arrangements. So what was the other question the interviewer asked me? Oh god, I can't remember. I'm sorry, a lot has been going on. I think one of the simpler questions was also like, do you speak Chinese? I was like, yes, and then no further questions were asked. So, kind of. Oh, I think one of the other questions was like, how well do you know Singapore's roads? I think my answer to that was everything but the graveyards, because I think over the past 2 years, basically, I've been trying to road trip Singapore out of boredom, so I've kind of seen everything. Um, I think something that I asked, which I think a lot of people have also asked me once they found out I'll be applying to be a bus captain, is do I get to choose where I work? And basically, what I was told is they will try to put you to the nearest interchange or depot from your home, which kind of makes sense because you don't want to challenge your employees to show up on time. Um, and I also asked, like, can I choose like which routes to drive or which shifts to take, because I told her specifically, I have a preference for night shifts. Like, I like driving at night, and if I could do 6 days of night driving, like, that would just make my day. And she said, like, by right, no, but all this is up to the interchange manager. So yeah, that's kind of the answer to that. Um, Geez, what else did she ask? Like, I found it very amusing, but I found it very amusing then, but I can't remember what it is now. No, I don't remember. I think she kind of asked like why I was interested to drive. Why am I leaving my current job to drive a bus? And I gave her the short version of what I spent the last hour talking about, which is I told her like like there's a tech winter now, and maybe, over the next few months, you'll see a bunch of people in tech applying to be a bus captain. But anyway, a lot of people in tech are out of a job now. So, like, maybe like, if she hasn't seen that yet, she'll probably see it over the next few months. I don't know if it was that funny, but she found it very amusing, I guess. Yeah. What else? So like basically, so I've told you about the kind of interview process, which is like you could do it at Ang Mo Kio Bus Depot or you can do it at Tampines. Very straightforward. They called me back. They're supposed to call me back in a week if I got it. It's one of those like old school. If it's a nil, if you didn't get it, we're not gonna call you. Which like, mm. But yeah, basically they said they call me back in a week plus a bit because this was just before Chinese New Year, so kind of understandable. So what's funny is they called me in about like 1.5 weeks, like just after Chinese New Year, and they actually tried to sway me to a different position. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was along the lines of like, would you consider something that we think is more like applicable to your skill set? And then they tried to see if I was interested in applying for basically an OCC job, like an operations control center job at the depot, which basically means that I'll be doing like the overall bus scheduling and dealing with like if buses start to bunch together. It's kind of like it's probably my job to like talk to the drivers and like kind of sort it out and basically make it smooth remotely, like make service proper remotely from the control center. um and like when I told a few people what I said to them, they were very like they said I should be a politician, which is basically I said I don't feel comfortable taking an operations job, shuffling, telling bus drivers what to do without having tried it myself first. So like I'm not opposed to working for the OCC, but I would want to drive the bus for a few years before I take the OCC job and start talking to people and start telling bus drivers what to do. Like, and I also told her like, I don't expect bus drivers to trust me if I'm in the OCC and telling people what to do, and without being able to tell them like, I know how you're feeling. Like, I was a bus driver, like, but you really need to do this. Like, it's not fun, but that's how it works. And like, it's one of those things where like people it's what we call influencing without authority. I fucking hate that I learned this word. I managed to go like 7 years in tech without learning this phrase, influence without authority, but my god, it's so applicable. I hate it. Which is like, like I want to have been a bus driver so that I wouldn't say boss bus drivers around, but just get them on my side and tell them like, like you just have to do this. So yeah, it was very like a lot of people telling me like this answer is like it's just like freaking like 200% kind of answer. And then she was, I think HR sounded she sounded a little bit disappointed. She was like, oh okay, yeah, then we'll proceed with your application to be a bus captain, and I think give us another week and you'll hear back from us. If we send it, if we decide to accept it. So like, I could just hear the disappointment. So I don't know, some kind of like expectation mismatch, but it's just I mean I did end the call by saying like I think bus captain is what I really want to do. Like, that's my passion right now. Like I know I could probably do the OCC job, but like I'm just that's just my passion right now, is being the bus captain. So like she was like, okay. um so that's what happened, right? And then like I think fast forward another week from that call, basically I was told to report to Ang Mo Kio Bus Depot the next Monday. So I was called on a Friday and told to go on Monday morning, Monday afternoon, to collect my medical forms. um and I think they were a bit vague about it, but now that I've gone through it, I can tell you exactly what these forms are for, which is kind of like the next step in becoming a public bus driver. So the medical forms are basically LTA paperwork. So if you want to apply to become an omnibus driver, which is I think what they call it, or at least a vocational bus driver, I should probably know, but then again, I don't think they explain this super well to potential bus drivers, because I don't think most applicants are interested in the terminology. But basically these medical forms are not for SBS. These medical forms are the prerequisite for SBS to apply for your vocational license training at LTA. So yeah, so I picked up the forms, and then I was given like I would say some freedom. I was given complete freedom. Like here are the forms. I need you to go to this list of clinics. And here are the opening times. Just go when you have time. And then after that, we'll follow up on the rest of the paperwork. So a bit too much freedom. Like, I feel like I should have been told like go do it soon. But yeah, basically, basically I told them that I will be, I'll be going for the medical checkup. This Saturday, which was just the past weekend, 2 days ago actually. So this medical checkup is for LTA, and I can tell you exactly what they check, and what SBS Transit added to it. So LTA's check is quite simple. It's eyesight. So when I say eyesight, I mean cover one eye, cover the other eye, read these numbers from a certain distance. The other thing is color blindness, which I don't know if it's discriminatory, but at the same time, traffic lights. So, and I know that colorblind people can't, like, there's ways around it, but at least as far as LTA is concerned, like you can't be colorblind and apply for a bus driving license. What else? I think was it blood pressure? Yeah, blood pressure. And then basic doctor consult, which is they check. I think the doctor listened to my heart, and then the standard, like, listen to your inhale and exhale, and just check your abdomen for like tenderness. So just a very very basic kind of like consult. I don't know, whatever. Like if you pay $50 to a doctor, that's what you get. And then the thing that SBS, no, this one's LTA as well, which is you have to do a urine test. I don't know what they check for. It's that stick with three things on it, and you pee on it, and that's the test. I don't know if it's for drugs or for something else, but yeah, there's a urine check. And then the thing that SBS Transit added to it was audiometry, which I think is not standard LTA. Like that's something that the clinic told me, which is like SBS Transit specifically added audiometry to it. Yeah, so that's the medical checkup. So there's basically this bunch of documents that get stapled together, and I don't know if they pass it to SBS or to LTA, but that's basically the medical for a bus captain application. And I think something interesting as well was that so I went on a Saturday, and the waiting room of the clinic was entirely, like almost entirely, SBS Transit staff, except for like people reporting sick, which was like the minority. Like most people would working for SBS Transit as bus drivers, working for ComfortDelGro as taxi drivers, or working for like SBS train operations. And I don't I'm not snooping on people. It's just that the clinic leaves all these envelopes lying around. Like people come in with that envelope that says SBS Transit Downtown Line, dear whoever, report for medical checkup at here, and then like they just leave that envelope there. So that's how I know. And then there's also like bus captains talking aloud about their scheduling. So that's that. Don't sue me, please. And yeah, so that's the health checkup, and that's the latest really. And I think I passed the health checkup. If not, I suppose they would have told me, but as far as I can tell, I passed the health checkup. So I think the next step is really just to submit a bunch of documents to SBS, and then the training begins. So and it so happens that my last day of work for Amazon is in 8 days, because I set it for February 28th. So hopefully I don't take too long of a break, because I can't afford a break. Which I think one of the things that I'm, like I mentioned earlier, one of the things I mentioned is that I'm going to have to sell my car. So cars are not affordable in Singapore to the average person on an average salary. I don't know what an average salary is, but I think it was also kind of my conscious decision to like finance my car over 3 years, which means I'm paying like a ridiculous amount. Like I'm paying more than my SBS Transit like base salary would be. So like the car has to go. And I can tell you more about that later while I'm still talking about myself. Let me just. There's a bunch of stuff here on the chat that I want to respond to. Um, la la la. So I'm gonna start with swiftly checking, saying that that 4 day work week is to see if I can show up for shifts reliably on time. Which like I think the average person who applies for the bus driver comes from like a work ethic where that's quite normal. But you know what? Like I don't blame them. Like I think myself as in like my generation, like we don't show up on time. Like I've come very close to being charged many times during national service for showing up late. So fair enough. And yeah, I think it takes some getting used to as well. I honestly don't know what the routine is, but as night shift, I wouldn't be surprised if I have to return the bus to the depot, which means like not the interchange, but like the actual depot in Ulu Pandan or wherever it is. So yeah, fair point. I think especially for like people of my age, like, can you show up on time? Maybe not. um, and then Natafon, Bukit Merah interchange. I'm hoping so. But I think I would even prefer like Sia Im interchange because of the hawker center and because of VivoCity. But then again, I think on a bus driver salary, like VivoCity wouldn't be interesting to me anymore. Like, fuck, watching a movie on this salary? No. Don't plug funny things into the OBD2 port. I don't know if the bus has OBD2, but you know what? I think everything manufactured after like year 2006 must have one, so it probably has one. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if LTA already has something plugged into it, like for insurance or whatever. Like OBD2 port is super popular for that. Am I allowed to live stream my bus driving? Probably not. Am I going to try? No. I might ask HR, and I wouldn't be surprised if they said no. And I think it's the kind of thing where like you have to ask. Like you should ask. Like you really don't want to be in a like you don't want to be like a Grab driver, like, and then you like buy the passenger, all this the kind of thing, and then I think the main question will be why the hell are people recording each other? And I think if you're a bus driver, that would be the first question. Like it wouldn't be about like why you're touching the aircon. It would be like why the hell are you recording each other as bus driver and passenger? Maybe in Hong Kong, but not here. uh Does SBS Transit have an innovation team? Honestly, I only applied for SBS Transit because the interchanges nearest to me are mostly SBS packages. I feel like as the oldest player in the bus business right now, they probably have the worst work culture. And I say probably because this is an assumption, right? Like don't sue me, SBS. But the smart thing to do, I think, would have been to apply for like Tower Transit, for example, because like they have fucking good PR. Like you look at their marketing and the events they hold and the outreach they have, like they are just like the most modern ass bus company in Singapore. Like for someone my age, I think that would have been the logical choice. If not Tower Transit, then that new one with all the teenage drivers. Well, I mean, not teenage, but like 20s drivers. Would have been clever. But at the same time, I kind of like being like the odd one out. So I think that was also part of the choice. Like, I want to see like what the hell it is like working with the average SBS bus driver, as from my like tech perspective or whatever. I don't even know what my perspective is called, but I think like you'd be interested to know, wouldn't you? Next time I run LTA, I can say I drove a bus. Oh my god, LTA is one of those places where like I don't want to say bad things about them, but as somebody who wants to work with interesting people doing interesting things, like I wouldn't go there. Hmm. I haven't seen much interesting. I haven't seen many interesting things coming off LTA, so not interested in being there. Please run for office and be Minister of Transport. No interest. Sorry. Color blindness. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, they do check it. Like if you apply at SSDC, they do check, and they do it every single time. Like yeah, like applying for class 3, then doing class 4, and then now the bus, like each time they check for color blindness. Like I didn't know that you can get color blindness later in life. Maybe it is a thing and I just don't know, but otherwise it seems unnecessary. Diabetes, don't know. But at the same time, like if you look at the age profile of bus drivers, like, pretty sure there's diabetics. Or maybe not. Can you? Like I don't know, I'm ignorant to this. Like is it not advisable to drive for long periods of time if you've got diabetes? People doing a shift or two then disappearing. I don't know, man. Like I wouldn't play with fire, like this is like a public infrastructure. Like if you don't show up, I don't know, maybe people don't care, but I care about it. Like if I don't show up, like you're really screwing up, a public service. So Singaporean measure of timeliness is 15 minutes late. I don't think so. It's more like 20 minutes. Like buses go missing. Thanks for following. Yes, it's ANS, the new bus company with like all the teenagers. I think I don't know. Like I think I read the articles about ANS. Like the person running it isn't someone our age. When I say our age, I mean like 20s and 30s. Like if I'm not wrong, the CEO is like someone in the 40s or 50s. At least that's what I think I recall from the Mothership article. But most of the people working for them, I think, are in their 20s and 30s. And I think I have this conspiracy theory, or at least like I mean, my theory is that ANS was set up to buy like cool buses. Like it's just somebody's bus collection. It's just that, to collect buses in Singapore, you need a license and everything. So like, it makes sense to run a bus company, so you can collect buses and then drive around. But I guess they needed to make some money, so it made sense to kind of just expand. And yeah, I would love to do graveyard shift. I really like driving at night. I wouldn't say that I would not live stream driving a bus. I wouldn't record driving a bus, but if I were to do it, night shift seems to be the right time to do it. Yeah, I think that brings me to the end of like my bus journey to date. Is there anything else worth mentioning? I think it'll be an interesting challenge. I have some friends who are bus drivers, who haven't replied to my DMs, so but I think something interesting about bus driving. Okay, so I think I'm gonna think about some things that I would find challenging about bus driving from a theoretical perspective. Having not driven a bus and having done my class 4 license, I think the hardest part about driving a bus. So I've driven a van, like I own a van, and I've done my class 4 license, and both of these experiences have you sitting in front of your steering axle. So like when you turn the wheel, like you move in an arc which doesn't match what you have when you're in a car, because in a car you're like between your wheels and your front axle steers, so you kind of point your car where you're going. But your bus or your lorry or your van, always you're slightly ahead of the curve that you're on. So I don't think that would be too much of a challenge. Like it's definitely a mindset change if if you're driving a car and you're finding steering a challenge, then you're definitely going to have like an impossible learning curve driving a van or a bus or a lorry. But I think for me the hardest thing would be something I noticed buses having to do is making certain turns at traffic lights or T junctions. You have to drive it in such a way that either the back of the bus or the front of the bus actually goes over the curb. If you want to do like a really perfect, like technically perfect turn, the front of your bus has to go over the curb for a short while. And I think to me that would be a very big challenge, in the sense that while I'm driving my car, I realize Singapore has some really high curbs. Like most curbs are low enough for my car to clear the curb, but every now and then, I hear I can hear the bottom spoiler or diffuser, whatever you call it. I can hear it hit the curb, even though I thought the curb was like regulation height. So honestly, when I look at buses, I feel like there's gonna be a curb or two that the bus is just gonna scrape, and that kind of scares me. I think that would be a challenge. because like I think there's like two types of drivers. There's a type of driver who doesn't give a shit about lane discipline when turning. So when they turn, they cut into the adjacent lane. Um, and to pull off a technically perfect turn where you don't cross into the adjacent lane, like to me, it's kind of intuitive, but apparently not to most Singaporeans. But it's more like it's going to be harder to manage that technically perfect turn in a bus because you've got that whole middle part of your bus that you really want to avoid cutting the neighboring lane for. Like I think as a car, it's happened, like driving a car, it's happened to me. Like buses do a turn which ordinarily, if you're in a car, you wouldn't have cut into the next lane, but in a bus, because of the length of it, even though the front and rear wheels are following the path pretty well, like the bus just blocks the whole lane from turning faster than the buses. And I think that's something I really want to avoid, and I'm gonna find really challenging. So I'm quite looking forward to mastering it. Like I'm not saying that I will, but I think it'll be a fun challenge to do like really technically perfect turns on a bus. Does it mean you need to raise the bus? I'm not sure, because if you look at the buses Singapore has, like where the driver sits as well as where the air conditioning is at the back, the bus like tapers upward quite significantly. So like a bus can reverse quite far over a curb, and it can also like cut a curb quite significantly as it's turning. So I think that's a challenge that I see that will be fun. Um, the other thing that I realized while doing my Class 4 license is that it's really freaking easy to drive a lorry because the axles of the front and rear wheel are actually very close together. And lorries are really high up. So while I was doing the Class 4 license, like your 3-point turns and things like that, like the axles of a lorry are actually like almost as close as they would be on a car even. So like um, the spaces you can fit a lorry into is the same as what you could fit most cars into. So that was really shocking for me. Like doing a 3-point turn, you could have the back of your lorry hang like 1 to 2 meters over the curb. You could I'm not saying to do this or that I'm going to do this, but you could easily like knock people over as you back into the curb, because like there's just this huge overhang, and there's also this huge front overhang. So like you could do a really sharp turn in a lorry in the space which a car could turn in, just that you would have the entire cab of the lorry and the entire like tail of the lorry over the curb and possibly hitting something if it was there. But it's not the case on a bus, right? Because the front and rear axles of a bus are like within a meter from the end of the bus. So like you really can't fit it into the same kind of spaces that you could fit a Class 4 vehicle in. And when I say Class 4 vehicle, I mean like the ones you do the test in. So that's going to be a big challenge for me, I think. But then again, the roads that the buses are planned to go on are designed with that kind of turning radius in mind, right? So it's more like it brings me to my next challenge actually. The next thing that I think will be challenging, which is like um just having like the presence of mind not to go off route. I know it sounds silly, but I'm super worried about it. Like you make one wrong turn and your bus is somewhere that wasn't designed to accept like the turning radius or the wheelbase of a bus, and then you're pretty much screwed. Kind of like I think a few years ago this bus ended up in an open field at Kim Kiat in Toa Payoh. And my suspicion is just some dude's mind was wandering, ended up in a small road, couldn't get out of it. Like the only way out is the field, I guess. um what other challenges? I think the other thing about the attention span also is so I've been doing Grab Hitch over the past few days, just to kind of get a feel of what vocational driving is like, without going through like the test and everything. Um, and I think something that I've taken for granted until I started doing Grab Hitch is that I really like to talk or sing while driving, or at least like hum, just something to kind of obscure the kind of like it's not kinesthetic, like it's kinesthetic, but because of that like your mind kind of wanders. So I think I kind of came to appreciate like being able to sing or being able to hum, or at least being able to look wherever the hell I wanted. And something I realized while doing Grab Hitch is that driving for like even 15 minutes with zero conversation or like zero humming, like just it's just like facial stasis, right? Like 15 minutes of that is really difficult. Like I've managed so far. I've probably gotten used to it. It's just like going into it at first is so difficult. Like the next time you drive, like try having to deal with like like if your passenger sits in the back, you can't look in the rearview mirror as often as you would like to. Something I've been complaining about is that um, so I brought this up a few times with some friends, which is that if you take Grab and you sit in the back, do you look at the driver? Like, do you keep looking at the driver? Because that was my experience with my first few Grab Hitch passengers. Like, they sat in the rear left seat where your average like taxi cab passenger would sit. And it was so stressful. They kept making eye contact through the mirror, which like I can't really say or do anything about it. Like it's their right to look wherever the hell they want to sit, but and look wherever the hell they want to look. But why do I keep making eye contact with them? And I don't know if it's awkward for them. I guess it's not because they keep doing it. But like I need to look in that mirror every like depending on the driving situation, right? Like every 20 seconds or whatever. And I keep making eye contact with them. Like, why are you looking at the driver? Because it's making it awkward for me to drive like in a safe way. So that was very weird for me. And so I asked my friends, like, whenever I take Grab, I don't look at the rearview mirror to look at the driver. I look out of the window or I look at my phone or just everywhere but the freaking eye contact. But I've had a few people tell me that yeah, I make eye contact with the driver all the time, and I'm like, why? So that's very difficult. Driving without making too much eye contact is really tough. And then I've also had some passengers who sit in the front passenger seat, which I feel like it's so Grab Hitch is not like a taxi service, right? It's carpooling, and to sit at the back, I feel we treat it as a taxi service, which I don't care about. I have no strong feelings about it. If I had strong feelings about it, I wouldn't be doing Grab Hitch, right? Because like I'm not here to boss people around and tell them where to sit. Unless I need the space for something. But otherwise, it's kind of their business where they want to sit, and it's just me bringing them wherever they want to go. Anyway, there's people who sit in the front, and I'm much more comfortable with that. But at the same time, like there have been so many like cases of people doing weird things, like passengers getting in fights with drivers and drivers getting in rows with their passengers. Like it's kind of awkward also because when I change lanes, I have to look at them. I have to look across them, and sometimes I don't know if that's. That's better than eye contact, but I still feel very weird about it. So like professional driving is just so strange. And like I don't know if any of you guys have done it, but yeah, very weird. Like as a fresh perspective going in, like just kind of really weird experience. Picking music also very hard. I think I did like so I've done like maybe 18 Grab Hitch now. I think only two of them or three of them I did radio, and the other three like I just put my like night sleeping playlist. And yeah, I know it sounds weird, like driving concentrating on driving while quiet is hard, but and then I put a sleep playlist, but for some reason like I got some compliments about cool music, so I guess it worked. uh so one of the earlier questions, what's the backup plan when the bus goes off route? I don't know. Let's do another stream once I've done some training, and I'll tell you. Cause again, like insider info about bus driving like doesn't really exist, without getting interviewed by Lian He Zhao, I guess. But otherwise, yeah, let's do a Q&A once I start training. I really want to know as well. I really don't. I had none of these questions, but now that you ask, I want to find out. And is there a personality test for driving? I don't think so. I feel like it's the kind of job where if you apply for it, it means that you've kind of accepted certain things. And I think something that I've been telling a lot of people about why I want to be a bus captain is that in a on your day-to-day work, like most of the people will like support you. Like if you have a rowdy passenger, like the other like 20 or 40 people are gonna like try to take care of the situation for you so that you can do your job and get them to their destination. So I think personality is not super important. Like I feel like if I had to get into a conflict with a passenger, like I would rather just let the crowd solve it. Maybe eventually it become my job to kind of at the end of the day it's my call whether or not they get to board and whether I get to move. But otherwise, I would really just let the crowd take care of it. Like, Singaporeans are so good at crowd justice. I don't think so, seriously. Like, Singaporeans, like most Singaporeans, stay out of the way. But if the driver refuses to step in, then they start to they know they have to do something. So I don't know. Um, but yeah, I think one of the things that, yeah, again, like I really found it be an interesting job because, like, I made a comparison to being a taxi or a Grab driver, which is that, if you're in a taxi or a Grab driver, it's a very one on one or like one on two kind of situation where, you could be maybe you're an unreasonable driver, maybe you have an unreasonable passenger, but at the end of the day, it's really like one or two people's word against the other one or two. And you don't really have the authorization to record, even if an internal dash cam, like, good for you, but I feel like that's kind of wrong. Um, Whereas, like, on a bus, it's like public justice. So, but I think the one thing that I would step in on as a bus driver is, like, don't put your fucking seats up, or don't put your fucking feet up. Like, I think that's something, like, I don't know. I feel like this is like we've reached like a freaking like decade where we can stop people from clipping their nails on the bus and putting their feet up. That probably is something that I would enforce. Like, don't dirty the bus. Like, I mean, it's my job to keep the bus clean, sure, but, like, no one wants to touch your foot juice. I don't know. I think something I really miss about Hong Kong is really just the sense of, like, public righteousness and public justice, and, like, the appreciation for, like, public. I wouldn't say public drama, but just like public action. There's a lot of appreciation for it. Like, if someone puts their foot up, someone's gonna shout at you, kind of thing, and then people will like join. So there's this, like, public righteousness that we kind of lack. But at the same time, like, maybe we do have it. Maybe what we see on Mothership or what we see on Facebook is not indicative of how much public justice actually goes on. So, I mean, I hope to have a bunch of stories about, like, Singaporeans fixing behavior of other Singaporeans. And yeah, I'm inclined to think that not much actually appears on Facebook. Um, like all the weird drama that we see videoed on Facebook, like, I feel like a lot more happens than that. It's just that Singaporeans don't always take photos, because, like, we're never ready for it when the drama happens. So, I don't, maybe I can pull stuff off the bus dash cam for you guys. No, I cannot. Maybe they'll add this to the OSA. So yeah, bus driving. So I plan to do more vlogs about the bus driving journey. Not much going on yet. I think the other thing I wanted to do is, the other reason I want to do the night bus is also, like, I kind of have this, like, penchant for, like, I want to see a ghost kind of thing, and I really hope, like, one day I get to do 975 at night. So I want to see what it's like. And honestly, like, if it really happens, I think that would be one hell of a story to tell. Like, if the bus crashes, I'll be like, I'm sure I saw a ghost. I don't know how that would fly. Probably get fired, but, you know, something I want to see. Hmm. I think that's all for this vlog. Did I want to say anything else? I should probably look at the stream title: Midlife Crisis Chat. I think yeah, just like kind of to wrap it up and to kind of end on a certain note. I think this whole midlife crisis thing was just the realization that, you work for AWS. I mean, not you, but, like, I work for AWS and I earn a certain salary and I have certain things, and, like, I mean, it wasn't that work was generally happy. Like, it was generally positive. Like, you don't work for a company for 7 years if it's, like, 7 years of emotional ruin. So it was generally a positive experience. And, like, with the salary, of course, came, like, a certain lifestyle and certain things you can afford and buy. But at the same time, I think the way it becomes a midlife crisis is just like, it's I mean, I wouldn't say, like, peaking at 30 years old is peaking early, but at the same time, like, it does feel like kind of the peak, and I think it's because of how accelerated this whole thing was. Like, um maybe it's more common now, I don't know, at least like within like my pool of friends it's quite common, like to graduate and then within a couple of years you're working for like a mega corporation. But at the same time like it feels like there isn't really anywhere else to go from the top of the industry. Like I'm nowhere near the top of Amazon, like hierarchically, like I'm way below, still an IC, but still like it's the peak IC. Going to other companies, it's also peak IC. The most you can hope for is to be like principal engineer, which is nice, but also like it's too comfortable. Um, so yeah, like I think having peaked as an IC, I think it's like the start of a midlife crisis, which is like, if this is peak IC and if I'm getting like the peak individual contributor salary and this is like my lifestyle, then like it's just not. I don't know if the word is like not enough, but it's not that interesting at the end of the day. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'm sure like and this is not like a slight on anyone, but like plenty of people would be happy to get the salary at Amazon and work until they can't work anymore and then just retire on their savings. But it's so boring for me. So I think that's the start. That's the real start of the midlife crisis. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but if everyone felt that way, then we'd be in trouble because no one would want to work as individual contributors for their whole life. Aircon regulation. Do you mean for the bus? Because I believe someone it's something similar to this question that was asked to SMRT. I think a few years ago someone wrote into SMRT saying like the buses were too cold, and then SMRT replied saying like, oh, they have a policy of setting like 23 degrees on all their buses, and I think that led to a chain of like, is it like environmentally unfriendly to set all your buses to 23 degrees and something like that. So I think if you look, you'll find it. I know SMRT like sets it as 23, but I'm pretty sure like setting every bus to 23 doesn't make sense because the thermostats are in different places. So having a 23-degree set point could mean one model of bus is colder than the other. So I don't have the solution to this. Maybe the NUS ISB is a testing ground for the internal heat, humidity, and temperature of the bus. But I'm pretty sure LTA has not shown any interest in testing this. But maybe they did. Maybe I'll find out. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. I actually have some interesting stories about the NUS ISB. So I worked as a junior research assistant in NUS before. And it was junior because I was still studying at AC at that time actually. So they basically if you don't have a degree, if you don't have like a diploma or degree or something, like NUS can't give you research assistant positions. They have to give you junior research assistant. So it's some like bureaucratic shit from like, I don't know if it still exists, but it was the bureaucratic stuff from back then. Like that was the most they could do, was give me junior research assistant. And the project I was working on was actually a mesh network. There's actually a paper if you look for it. I don't want to talk about it because like my name's not in it, so this is my revenge. I'm not gonna cite your paper. But basically it was to deploy a mesh network to the NUS ISB. And I think it was back then. What was it? Was it Batman or was it Robin? Or was the predecessor to it? Like basically just mesh networking, pre 802.11s. And the reason they were deploying this mesh network, which I think if you were in NUS like between 7 to 10 years ago, you would have seen like some Socris Net 4826, Net 4821. I think Socris Net 4821 routers on board the buses. So that mesh network was something that I was actually helping to build and deploy. I honestly didn't do much on the project. Like my name shouldn't be on that paper. But anyway, I guess my point is that I think from the very early days, NUS already had some interest in getting some metrics on their buses and some instrumentation. Um, on that NUS ISB aircon being warm, I don't really care how cold or warm a bus is. I think aircon in Singapore in public transit has only one function, which is to remove smells. Um, like remove aerosols and like liquid and smells, like humidity and smells. And so my biggest complaint about the NUS ISB back then was that when you run the aircon warm, like you just smell the like super shitty PVC leather that they use on the seats. And yeah, the PVC picks up like the smell of sweat, and the whole bus starts to smell like shit. That's my biggest complaint. Like other than that, I don't really care. Like if the bus smells fine, if it's dry, like who cares how warm it is? But like when it starts to become a hot box of like sweat, ugh. Anyway, yeah, I think that's really all I had to vlog about. Maybe there's one last thing that I wanted to get off my mind, which is my van project. So like the whole reason for me starting to get more familiar with talking to a camera is to start documenting like this van that I have in Malaysia. So this is like, so the stream has already gone on for like 2 fucking hours. No idea how. My SSD is gonna run out of space at some point. I should refresh just to check. Holy shit. Oh, it's not too bad. It only took 10 gigs, I think, for this 2 hours. So yeah, I think the other project that I had, which is the reason for like me getting a proper camera set up. I mean, I've always had this camera, but like finally like using it, is because I have this van that I bought in Malaysia, I think a year ago. Like the pictures on my Instagram, but I honestly cannot remember like time has blended for me because of COVID. But yeah, so I have this van in Malaysia which I'm rebuilding into a camper van. I have done like maybe 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers on it so far, which is not much because like Malaysia is way bigger than that mileage suggests. And I wanted to vlog like the progress of it being built into a camper van. So I think something that there's a few things I need to do like personally before I can start vlogging about my camper van, which the first is getting familiar with talking to a camera. And like at home I have the luxury of being able to see like live monitoring from my LCD behind me, which has Streamlabs. And also, I've got chat, which actually makes things easier. Like, talk. I'm not exactly talking to myself. I'm talking to people who are replying by text, which is still better than it's a very different feeling from just talking to a camera with no response. So that's one of the things that I needed to do. And then yeah, I think I need to kind of find a workflow for editing videos on the go. I have an iPad Pro which I can't sell. For reasons, so I thought it'd be a good idea to install Resolve on that and kind of come up with a workflow for getting media from this Sigma FP onto the iPad and then editing with Resolve on it. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, I wanted to tell you more about the van. So I got this van like last year in Malaysia for slightly under 10,000 ringgit, which is like 3,000 plus, like 3,000-ish Singapore dollars, which I'm gonna say it's like way less than a month's salary, but at the same time it's also more than 1 month's bus driver salary, so maybe it's not so cheap after all. But yeah, I got this like kind of oldish, like when I say oldish, the van was built in 1995. No. Yeah, no. The van was built in 1992. So it's like 30. No. It's built in 95. Sorry, the van was built in 1995. So the van is like, I cannot math, but let me just Google. There you go. It's a 28-year-old van. It's been quite an experience so far. Like culturally, like getting things done in Malaysia is completely different from Singapore. I think I'll save it for a different vlog. But like the whole process of bringing that 28-year-old van back up to like when I got it, it was in running condition. Like the aircon worked, the engine worked, but at the same time, nothing worked well. So the driver did the previous owner did an overhaul on it. And it was done pretty piss poorly. Like the engine was overhauled, but the general maintenance of the van was such that it would be in working enough condition to sell to somebody. So there was a lot of work that's been done on the van so far. I'll tell you more about it in future, but it's working like really well now. Like, it's a van that's performing exactly like a 1.8 liter engine should be performing. Like, I dare say like the engine performs like it would have when it was new. Because like everything that contributes to its performance has been replaced for brand new parts now. At quite reasonable expense because like it's super well documented. Like it's a Toyota like Ace. And after getting this Toyota and with my Honda in Singapore, I've decided like I'll never in my life buy a Honda. And it's because Toyota has electronic catalogs for all of their cars, like modern day to like 1980s cars. Like you can find parts catalogs. Everything is You can find catalogs for everything. Almost all the spares are available online. I've been buying all my spares from Amayama, which is this website that ships you parts from Japan. Very reasonable pricing, lower than like any other Japanese supplier, and surprisingly enough, Amazon Singapore also has Amazon Singapore has listings of some products from Japan, and Amazon Japan has like Toyota spares listed on it. So at lower prices than Amayama actually. So whenever they are available with free shipping, like I've also gotten some parts from Amazon. So it's been brilliant. Like if I had to get another car, it would be a Toyota. Like, anything could go missing or break, and you could find it on a catalog and buy it. Like ridiculous. Like my Honda's like something went faulty. Firstly, like diagnostic code meaningless without software that you have to subscribe for. Parts, cannot find the part number. You can subscribe for access to the technical manual. It does not include the part numbers. Like it is just like completely arcane. Like you need their diagnostic software. You need access to the manuals, and you need like some other incantation to find the exact part you need to replace. Freaking impossible. Block diagrams of Honda cars, also like meaningless. Like I paid like must be £7 or £8 for an hour of access to the manuals. Like the block diagrams are worse than like any block diagram really. Like it's freaking like block diagrams for 5-year-olds for all of the Hondas. So yeah, never again. Like Amayama doesn't stock any of the parts. You can't find a catalog. Like you can't buy the damn parts. It's terrible. Like I would not get a Honda. So anyway, yeah. The van was like super easy to refurbish. Got it painted. Next time I do a vlog about the van, I will be with the van, holding this camera, holding my iPhone. I don't know. And you'll get to see more of it. Really nice van. Smooth to drive, goes up and down mountains, which Malaysia is like all mountains. And like I guess most of you have not actually slept in a converted van, like a camper van, like in a van, and not a purpose made camper van. But it is wonderful because like camper vans are usually made out of like aluminium cabs or like lightweight fiberboard on the inside, but like a van, like it's just like this, at least for like its age, like for the past, like in the 90s and 2000s, like it's steel bodied, right? So the interior of like a van steel body van, it's like quiet. So like if you go like on the campsite by the beach, you close the windows, like you're just like in a silent box. And so if you make it comfy, like it's a really nice place to sleep. Like I don't know, like in some ways I prefer it to being at home, because at home like I've got a road outside, and you got windows, you hear everything. But for some reason, like in a van, or I guess in any modern vehicle, you close the windows, and it's called NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness. So like I think like the windows are built to be quieter, because like usually there's wind rushing past them. So like sleeping in a van is like super quiet, super comfortable. Like would do it again. Like it's brilliant. And I'll tell you that from my vlogging from the van. So really fun. Yeah. I don't know like if you guys have any questions about my van journey, but it's been something interesting, and I don't know if you guys have comments. Like, I'd be interested to read it, because I told like some relatives about it, and they were super concerned about like I'm gonna get robbed. I'm gonna get like, yeah, mostly about me getting robbed and beheaded and like exported to other countries in parts. But I guess me and the van. And a lot of people ask me about like how am I gonna shower, how am I gonna eat. And I've actually thought about all that, but I'll probably save it for another stream. So yeah. Anyway, I think this is a good place to end it. Unless you guys have any questions. And yeah, I'm still kind of figuring it out. I feel like this very minimalistic Streamlabs overlay is like probably the way to go. For vlogging. Um, I don't really know if there's anything I can do to improve it, but if you do, let me know. I'm kind of modeling it after like I'm hoping to have all these like A-roll to cut into shorter videos or something. The focus, it's kind of annoying, but it's not terrible. Like, it's super slow, but at least it's not jumping around distractingly. I would set it to fixed focus, but that's even more annoying because like at this depth of field, you would just see me like fading in and out of it. But we'll see. It could be a matter of the lens as well. I'll figure it out. But I think like this combination of like Sigma FP. I mean, in general, the Sigma FP is known to be like terrible at autofocusing for vlogging. Um, at the same time, I don't really have the money to get like a vlogging camera right now. Like I think a Panasonic GH series would be really nice. Like that is a de facto camera to hold in your hand. Um, I don't know. I think the thing is like when this camera is in still mode, I can set a focus limiter, but when it's in video mode, I cannot. Um, if I had limited it to like a certain range like this, like it would have been perfect because like it wouldn't hunt so long. Before I started the stream, I actually had my ceiling light on, and every now and then like my camera would focus on like my clothes behind me, which was even more annoying. Um, so we'll see. I don't really know what else to say. Like for my next few vlogs, especially if I'm doing like from the van, it's probably not gonna be live. I like my stream that setup is on my desktop, and while I'm on the go, I don't think I will have something powerful enough for this kind of Streamlet setup, especially not to process 1080p 60. So that will just be chopped up. Otherwise, yeah. I'll probably cross post this to YouTube. I still don't know if that's like the place for it, because like a lot of these comments make more sense in the context of like what I'm of doing it now. But yeah, I think if you guys have any suggestions or like any like if you want to see me somewhere related to buses, let me know. I don't think SBS Transit would appreciate if I stood outside their depot like doing a vlog, so that's actually why I didn't do it. Like I bought a Rode mic for my phone so I could do that on the go, but at the same time I felt like having the bus depot in the backdrop, like it's caused problems for a lot of people already. Like to Singapore, I think to SPF, like terrorism is basically, I mean, part of terrorism is taking videos of bus interchanges. So, if not, yeah, I mean, I'll see you guys next time. I don't know how often I should do these vlogs. Does it make sense to schedule something? Do more experienced streamers know like what's the best time to vlog about this kind of thing? I think most of you know how to contact me. If not, maybe I should probably create new social accounts and put them here so you can reach me. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for listening to my rant. Like I'm sure a lot of people are actually going through this, but I'm the only one who like can be arsed, or maybe like just has nowhere else to put this content. So yeah, here it is. I'll see you guys next time. I need to figure out a mechanism to like let people follow me and announce stuff. But for now, like I guess just follow me on Twitch until I can afford like premium Streamlabs or whatever they call it, so I can multi-stream. I'm not gonna become famous lah, not without your help anyway. And even then, like we'll see. I hope it was interesting. Good night.